Alright guys, here is your long-awaited video on putting in general. And there's a couple of things here that I'm going to go over today in this part one, and then from there I may split it up into some other stuff. But this is how I do basically a putting clinic for people, and I think it's important to start in this way. So no matter what style or grip you use, you have to kind of know how hard to hit the golf ball. And I've got some guidelines as far as what I like to see from golfers. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the capture width of the hole. So basically we have a cup, right, that has a diameter, and it's effectively this wide. And depending on how hard I hit my putt, this diameter may start to shrink. So if I hit the putt really, really softly, I have the ability to get these balls to just kind of curl into the edges of the hole. If it just catches the edge, it'll fall in. And that's one way to putt, just dying it in. The other way to putt would be to putt more firmly. And if I'm going to putt the ball firm, then I have to hit it more in the center of the cup. As you can see, I did that first one, it spun out. So when I putt more firmly, or when you putt more firmly, it's important to know that the diameter or the ability of the ball to, or the hole to capture the ball starts to get much, much smaller. So this diameter that we have, or this width of the cup that we have to work with, starts to get smaller. And to illustrate that a little better, I'm going to use this little handy tool. It's called the True Roller. And I'm not going to go from very far away here, because it's easier to aim at a shorter distance. Basically, if I come here and start to just roll these balls in the hole, at this speed, I can use a lot of the cup to catch the ball. So I'm going to see if I can get this one to go pretty slowly in on the edge. A little too far in the middle. There's one on the edge. Okay. A little softer. That was close. That one went in the side. There we go. Okay, so that one got gobbled up just on the side of the hole. So you saw that it kind of caught this edge and it curled in. Now, if I start to do this same thing, so let's say that was my capture width of the hole, I could actually hit that putt right about there and it would go in. That's a pretty wide target, basically most of the cup at that speed. Now if I start to crank up the speed a little bit, let's say I put it up here, you'll see how it just kind of bangs on the side of the hole and spins out. So at that speed, I have to be really precise. That one almost spun out. That one spun out. So I need to hit this one really in the center of the cup to get it to go in with that speed. So that's a faster speed, which shrinks my effective hole. So the point of this is that I basically judge all of these putts on how far past they would go if there was like a piece of foam or like a cellophane plastic wrap over the top of the cup. So if I happen to just miss the edge here at this speed, okay, that putt obviously went too far by, and that's the speed I was rolling it at to spin them out of the edge of the cup. So at this speed, a little bit lower, that's a pretty good capture speed. I'll just aim that off to the side. And you'll see that that went by the hole roughly, I'm just using my feet, probably 2 of my shoe lengths, which is size 10.5. So that's how far, give or take a couple inches, I like to see the ball go past the hole in general. Now there's different things that can go along with this, as far as like if I've got a really slippery downhill putt, then I don't want much more than 1 foot width past the hole. If it's a little bit of a straighter uphill putt, I don't mind hitting them a little bit firmer, and if I go a couple inches past that 2 kind of foot widths, or 20 inches, let's say, past the hole, I'm okay with it. Okay, so that's how I'm always judging putts. So when I play with people, often they'll hit a putt, and they'll hit it like this far by. They'll hit it, I don't know, they'll hit it like 6 feet by the hole, and they say, oh, I just misread it, and I'm kind of in my head, I don't know how to say this, but I'm saying that you really don't know if you misread it because of how hard you hit the ball or how much pace you had on the ball. So I would just start judging your putts and seeing if they can get past the hole, number one, because if they can't get past the front of the cup, it's hard for it to go in. Impossible, really, right? Unless we get a big, crazy gust of wind or something like that. And then how far past are we going? Are we going 3 feet by too often? Or are we staying in a pretty good spot? So obviously the next part of that is if I'm going 3 to 4 to 5 feet by on some of these putts from, let's say, 20 feet, my make percentage from a 4 foot region past the hole is much, much less off than I am making a 2 foot putt past the hole, okay? So that should help you in 2 ways. Now, then what I get asked a lot when I do these clinics is if you're just worried about being able to use the whole hole, right, to capture the golf ball, why don't we drip it in as slow as we can so it can go into the edges? And really the answer to that is pretty simple, that the green is not a perfect pool table, right? So these balls are susceptible to these wiggling, and if you've ever seen the game Plinko on The Price is Right, where the discs go back and forth, that's essentially what the golf ball is doing to some degree, even on the most perfect greens. So if it's just barely tumbling end over end, I think you're too susceptible to bumps and footprints and ball marks. And if it's going too fast, your effective hole starts to shrink too much. Okay? So that's part one about putting for, I think, everybody this can apply to. Just see how far past the hole you're getting it. Are you giving yourself the best chance to make enough putts? Or are you limiting your chances to make putts by either 1, not getting it past the front of the hole, or 2, hitting it too far by to not give yourself the appropriate capture speed? So I'm going to end this part here, and then we'll go into part 2.